Hey, it says we're live. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sheila Corona. Welcome to this time we're watching live on Sassy Seer Sheila. And if you're watching it on New Light Streaming Love, it is not live. It is just a recording. So let me pull up. Well, actually, YouTube doesn't show me live. So how is that even possible? Hmm. Am I not going to be able to do this live on Sassy Seer Sheila? Why not? Why is it? Well, there it is. Wow. Okay. Apologies for the delay there. So, at any rate, like I said, uh, if you're watching live, you're watching it on Sassy Seer Sheila. If you're watching it as a recording, that will be on New Light Streaming Love. And today is Friday, March the 28th, 2025. And tomorrow is the um, partial solar eclipse. And I guess it's sort of and it kind of makes sense now as I'm looking back over these past 2 weeks as to how I've been feeling physically, as to the fact that it's, a lot of folks consider it a passageway or something like that, So if you have had sleeplessness or sleepiness, I wouldn't be surprised. I really would not be surprised, because I have to tell you, um, I have had, it's been all over the shop this go round. I've had sleepiness where it doesn't matter. I can sleep most of the day and all of the night and not have an issue. But there's also been a couple of days where I've been wide awake and couldn't get to sleep. So it's just all over the place on that score. And of course, I feel like and it's really been bearing out in these readings. The readings that I'm doing it's mostly for me, but it's also for the collective in many ways, I feel like, because we are all one and yet singular in nature all at the same time. I really do feel like we live a multidimensional existence in many ways. Um, wow, what I just described is exactly what came out for the fairies, the undressing of a salad, which is, interesting indeed. And so I would love to hear from you guys. I know I haven't been doing a lot of live over here on Sassy Seer Sheila. Most of my lives have been over on New Light Streaming Love. Um, and again, I really don't know what's going to take place. The other ladies that are also part of the collaborative of that channel just haven't been feeling it. And I get that, which is another reason why I don't want to completely abandon Sassy Seer Sheila, because this is, you know, it's not conscious conversation central, that's for sure. um, but you have to have folks who are willing to come and have conscious conversations in order to actually have conversations. So if you are interested in having conscious conversations, surrender to the magic of who you are, and reach out to me at consciousconversationscentral@gmail.com, and we'll have conscious conversation. And I don't really, I used to be a real stickler for folks showing their face and being true to who they are. And that's for everybody else to decide whether or not they want to do that, right? So I don't have that hard and fast rule anymore. Just because I think, I'm after finding out who I am, and it's messy, and it doesn't necessarily fit all the pretty molds out there and things like that, but that's okay. I don't care, for me, and that's just me, but others do. And so it's not an absolute that it has to be that way anymore to come and have a conversation. And I also used to want to record everything to share. Mostly, I think, because, well, very early on my in my conversations with Lisa Flamino Rush, my housemate, fellow collaborator on New Light Streaming Love and on Conscious Conversation Central for a very long time, I used to tell her, wow, if folks could just listen in to our conversations, I really feel like it would be so helpful, because having those conversations and being open to new concepts and ideas that she was helping me see, oh my gosh, it was so helpful to me. And I still feel that way. I still feel like having open, honest conversation where all parties come into it with thoughts and feelings and ideas about concepts and consciousness and what one thinks it is, but being open to seeing that, well, it could also be this way over here, which is in many ways completely opposite of the way I thought, right? That's the way forward in everything, for me at least, because realizing that we've all been programmed to think and feel a certain way from the time we were infants, really. And not everything that we've been programmed with is A, true, B, makes any kind of sense once one takes it out and looks at it. But that absolutely has to be a given, that open to seeing that, and to discover and explore. When I realized that, I just turned 63 in October, and I realized that almost everything I'd ever been taught or told or thought of as so really was not at all what it seemed. But that does take a minute to feel into, to think about, to see if, to consider. And that sometimes also takes a little bit of work, takes a little bit of self-reflection, and realizing that, hey, wait a minute, I really don't know everything. Because trust me, I really thought I did. And that just isn't so. Oh, wow. The mental card came out for the Alchemy Elementals by Shaman Direct. That's really interesting. And today, the Sacred Geometry deck wanted to make an appearance as well. So We have a new, well, it's not really new, but it hasn't been used in a while outside of the Intuitive Hangout Sessions, which I really am going to do, actually, depending on how things go. Maybe it'll be tonight. If not tonight, certainly by tomorrow afternoon, because I really do want to do that again. Discover your superpower. Yeah. Access 100% of your mojo. Oh my, and this is card number 33. How interesting is that? 33 is one of the numerological numbers in my own personal numerology, and threes really are, they surround me everywhere. And I noticed that some of the other cards here, we have 9, we have 4, and over there we have a 5. Yeah, 5. 5s are all about change. The 9 is the completion of a circle. I mean, not a cycle, not a circle. And 4s are all about foundation. Now, these are, my feeling of these numbers, not necessarily what everybody says. Although I do feel like there are some, oh wow, okay, so the 2 that I'm being shown here from this deck is 43, which is transition, and number 9, which is an allowance. There was a third one that came out, but I didn't see it right away, but I'm going to take it anyway. 29, healing, which is also another master number. And these actually want to go first, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so from the activations, Sacred Geometry Activations Oracle, I know that part of what I've been moving through has to do with some pretty huge transition, some transitionary energy, transformation, which I feel like everybody's going through to one degree or another, because, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It simply moves in and out of form, which means constant transition, really. So it says the frequency of transition supports our deep understanding of the ever-changing nature of existence and our lives, so that we can learn to let go, surrender to the process, and allow transition to occur with ease and grace. And I have to be honest with you, as someone who, went through an awful lot of both verbal, physical, mental abuse, from time of very young to right up through several marriages, to turn around and then be told, I got to surrender. I worked really hard to get myself out of those situations where, I'm not surrendering to nobody, no how, for nothing. No, thank you. Right. So there would, but there's also a different connotation to the word surrender. And that is what I am now coming to see, sense, and feel in a completely different way. And that also goes into why I feel the way I do about language, right? That it's all about connotation, not just denotation, what one has experienced in regards to a word. So it says transition can be described as the passage from one stage to another. However deeply or mildly it impacts our lives, transition always implies change of some sort. And most of us are afraid of change. Well, it's right in my what do you call, my black moon Lilith. It is the primary fear of my shadow is the fear of change. My black moon Lilith is in Leo, which is the shadow of order. And this is all according to Laura Walker's work. And if you would like, hey, Quinn J, I'm so glad you tuned in this morning. And if you go to oraclereport.com and click on the books tab, all of Laura's books are there freely available in PDF form. And her book about the black moon was very helpful to me. And you can find where your black moon reside in your natal chart from that book, and then read all about your own shadow and the primary fear attached to that. And imagine my surprise to find that the fear of change is my primary fear. Oh, great. The only constant in the universe, and I'm afraid of it. But knowing that, and also being up to the challenge of getting to know who I am, has made my approaching change very much easier for me. So it's really true that when I started delving into the truth of who I am, I started looking at everything I could get my hands on to help me figure out just exactly. And there's been so much that I have found that really explains a lot about how I move through life and how I see things. Good morning, Charlotte. I'm so glad that you found me over here live. I guess I was kind of concerned that, I want to make sure that I'm present in both places, both Sassy Seer Sheila and New Light Streaming Love. So we want things to stay the same. We want to stay in the comfort zone we've created. Unfortunately, change is the one certainty in life that we can all count on. Change is necessary to allow room for the new to emerge and the old to pass. Change is necessary for growth to occur. Change is a fundamental universal law. Transition describes this process of change, a time when things are moving, morphing, and shifting. And in the midst of this process, it's common for nothing to feel clear, comfortable, or safe. Yeah, there's been a fair amount of that for me, especially recently. Being pushed and pulled from our existing state into one that is unfamiliar isn't easy. And the most feared transition of all is one we all face eventually: death. The transition from our physical bodies to the world of spirit. Because we have so little understanding of the true nature of our existence and of our connection to the cosmos, we tend to fear death as a perceived ending. As in this activation, the snake is a traditional symbol for death and transition in many cultures and belief systems due to its perceived ability to be reborn many times during its lifetime by shedding its skin. Behind it, the background shows not only the grid of the flower of life, the connection with the earth plane, but also the Merkaba, a reference to our existential ability to traverse between layers of time and dimension. The colors indigo, violet, and magenta are indications of our deep spiritual connection to the cosmos and the whole of existence, making any transition but a moment in an ongoing infinite journey. Now, if you've followed me for any length of time or caught it, I want to say this started in 2022, might have been 2021, because that's 2021 is when Conscious Conversation Central was shut down. In 2022 is when Corona Rising was shut down. And Sassy Seer Sheila came into existence. During those two transitions, I also had many conversations with death. And what I mean by that, I was off and on quite ill, and I was being asked by my larger self to consider exactly what death is. Now, I've had a lot of physical damage done to this body. I have been the hand for a lot of it, to be honest. Being 490 pounds at one time, having more than 20 surgeries after the original surgery for the gastric bypass. And this is the damage that I speak to for the most part. I mean, there was others, but so I was being asked to consider what death is, and marveling at the fact that this body is actually still here after all of that. And all of the medical pharmaceutical abuse that it withstood. So there's that, but also to consider exactly, because I am 63, and I've been asked to consider really what I think death is and what it would mean for me personally. And I can't unsee that the two books that I've recorded and put up on the channels, both the Jeshua Channelings and the Soul's Journey, A Soul's Journey, came in right at those times when I was being asked to consider what that is, what it could mean. I know I really felt before all of that I wasn't afraid of death anymore. Because again, when one has lived at death's door for more than 10 years, it was almost a total of 12 full years. Isn't that a painful surgery? Well, there was a lot behind all of that, Quinn J. The original surgery for gastric bypass, it was a Roux-en-Y, which is different than what they normally do now. Can be, yes. Trust and believe that there were times I sat in my bed and said, oh my God, what have I done to myself? Oh my God, what have I done to myself? But I also know that at 490 pounds, I certainly wasn't long for the world. And I was working, okay? I was still working at that point when that all took place. But so I couldn't unsee the synchronicities of the things that were coming into my life to look at for that. And so I really have no fear of that any longer. Now, of course, I don't have a husband, and my child is in his 40s and has a child of his own. So it's not like I have to worry about any of that either, right? So for me personally, this is not something that I concern myself with. However, there are other sorts of transitions that I've noticed that Well, thank you, sweetheart. Me too. Because I will tell you, like I said, there were times when, well, and they did tell me that there was at least once that I did die during one of those um 20. Like I said, there were more than 20. I really don't know how many more. There was one point where I was in the hospital for more than 3 months straight through. And then there were several months where I was in for 10 days. I go home for 2 weeks, and then I come back for 2 weeks to a month and then go home. And it was just such a mess. So right now I'm being faced with a brand new path. All the different things that keep coming into my field, things about my own personal natal chart. I really don't, I'm not an astrologer. I try to teach myself what it is that I'm seeing, uh, that keeps coming up, different astrologers that I listen to their videos, and they tell you how to go and look at your chart and see where this falls in your chart. And I've opened up my own conversation with AI, and it all is pointing to some pretty big changes for me, changes I've not approached or even considered of doing on my own, totally on my own. That's something I've never done. I was married the first time at 16. Um, had my child with my second husband at 21. And my last marriage that broke up in 2017, I've never lived alone. So there's lots of different things that this is pointing to, that I'm being asked to keep an open mind as to how these transitions, these changes, these transformations are going to show themselves, or possibility of showing themselves to me. The very fact that the very next card here that I'm about to read to y'all is number 9, which is the closing of a cycle, and allowance. Oh my God, I can't make this stuff up. I mean, I guess I could if I was that creative, but trust, I'm not. So it says here at the bottom of the card, the frequency of allowance invites us to be open to whatever comes our way without judgment, without opinion, without fear, and without resistance. When we allow the universe, when we allow, comma, the universe becomes our partner in the wondrous dance of existence and expansion. And I do see now I could equate the word allowance with surrender. In 2017, oh, hell no. I could not equate those two as the same. Nope. Not under any sort of circumstances. You see what I mean about how there's more than one way to see a thing, to understand a thing. There's always more than one way, or at least that's what keeps being shown to me. Quinn J said, there are times I thought about getting it done for myself. I'm not too sure I want to do it for real. Well, I have to tell you, honey, uh, I'm being shown right now there are multiple reasons why I was at death's door for all that length of time. And it has to do with that releasing of all of that weight so quickly. So honestly, I have to tell you, I certainly don't recommend it. And once Lisa is ready to have a conscious conversation about what she's moving through right now, I can tell you that from her experience, from what I'm seeing, from what she talks about with me personally, I I see now exactly what I did to myself and why I ended up. Yes, there's a part of me that was running from my shadow. Absolutely, absolutely. That was part of what kept me at death's door. The other part had to do with all the toxins that were encapsulated in that weight. That as it was being released, it has to go somewhere. And the body was overwhelmed, just absolutely overwhelmed. What if all that weight that I held encapsulated generational trauma that had to be dealt with? I certainly wasn't ready to deal with any of that consciously because I didn't have any of that on board, first of all, that I could even think about, much less even if I did think about that I would understand it in any sort of way. So being exposed to what she's moving through, wow, what I went through makes a hell of a lot more sense to me in these moments of now. So quite frankly, I don't blame you. If you hadn't done it and you'd been considering it and you haven't yet, there might be a reason and you might ask yourself some questions about it. Yes, I think you're right, honey. We are on the same track. So, the allowance image resembles the spirit of the joker, the jester, or the fool. It is the embodiment of the infinite spirit within, the unbounded, fearless essence of expanded possibility, with very little regard for conventionality or rules. Disguised as the fool, the jester is oftentimes the bearer of unwanted truth. I've been called a Heyoka before, which is supposedly a sacred clown. So that kind of is interesting there, right? Um, Disguised as the fool, the jester is oftentimes the bearer of unwanted truth, messages that are feared yet needed for evolution and growth. Allowance is the polar opposite of resistance. Sometimes the things we resist the most are the trials, the hidden treasures that lead to growth and evolution. The allowance image bears a certain resemblance to the butterfly as well, a reference to the process of transformation and unfolding. Meanwhile, the shiny pearls seem to vibrate with songs that come from deep within a mysterious other world, and the vast green waters indicate the deep connection to the heart and the realm of feelings and emotions. The square reminds us that reality is more of a multi layered experience than an objective absolute. I think that's true. Charlotte said, how about the change comes a new, how about with change comes a new you? And I have no idea who the old me is yet. Makes change a lot scarier. Well, it could, but also I have asked myself, my larger, more expanded self, to guide me in helping me see what I need to see only. If there are parts of me now, and I'm speaking more than likely little tiny me, because I'm aware that there are things that happened in my childhood that I am not totally 100% certain of what they are, or even if I need to know them. They were trauma inducing to be certain. So I've asked my larger self only if it is necessary for me to know these things in order to process these things. If I don't need to know them, can we process them anyway? And I really do feel like, for me anyway, that it's going to happen. I used to think that we may, because I held it, I was making mistakes all over the place. Boy, that was a mistake. Sure wish I hadn't done that. But I don't, I'm changing the way I feel about that. I don't think we make mistakes. We can label things a mistake all we want to, but doesn't necessarily mean it is. And each one of us, for me, anything that I am in resistance to, I know there's something there for me. I know with all of me, there's something there for me to look at. And since I personally want to see all of me, because having been married and divorced 3 times, I now know with all of me, I didn't even know who I was. So how I know I didn't present myself as who I truly was to my partner. No wonder those relationships didn't last or couldn't last. I want real, true relationship. And in order for that to happen, I got to have real, true relationship with me first. First. And so I got to see all of me. And again, that doesn't mean that I have to revisit everything if it's not conducive to healing, which is the next one from here. The frequency of healing supports our intrinsic ability to restore our health and wholeness by consciously using the information that comes to us through our senses and harmonizing everything accordingly. Healing literally means to, quote, to make whole. It refers to the process of restoring health to something or someone that is unbalanced, diseased, or damaged. Well, I fit all of those categories. You know what I mean? So for us to reach or maintain a state of health and wholeness, we need to balance all aspects of ourselves. Our physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional bodies have to harmoniously work together. And this requires clear communication and awareness of all the information that our sensory system is providing us. So far, we have recognized sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch as the 5 senses that provide this feedback. In the new energy, we are invited to add our intuitive perception as the 6th, which complements this profound and essential feedback system well. The color green dominates this activation as it is associated with health, most likely because in nature, green indicates growth, fertility, and life. When in springtime we see the first greenish glow return on the branches of trees, we know that a new growth cycle has started. A clear indication of the continuance of life. Green also refers to a heart that is open to truth, compassion, and love. The purple, violet, and pink indicate our intuitive abilities, which are anchored in a strong connection to source and self. The 12 glowing flowers refer to life and the healthy growth that emerges from an effective healing process. In numerology, the number 12 is considered a 3, a catalytic number, indicating that all aspects of ourselves can harmonize together to support our natural, radiant, healthy state. Quinn J says, oh my God, again. Oh, wow. I always felt this since a bit of the weight came back. Never just said it. My big self is indeed trying to teach me some lessons before I, quote, get it right again. Well, listen, I would go with that, especially if that's what you are feeling. We tend to poo poo ourselves at every turn because so and so said this, and well, they know more than I do. No, they don't. Not when it comes to you, pal. You are the expert for you and nobody else. Nobody else. I don't care what anybody tries to sell you. Not me, not Joe Blow down the street. You're the only expert for you. Surrender to the magic of who you are, is what the surrender deck had to say today. We all have magic in us, even in the mundane aspects of life. Remember that you are a magical being with a uniqueness and worth that come from just being you. Now, a lot of people will say, well, who am I? Well, if you weren't somebody important, you wouldn't have been born. Sorry, but that's how this works. In the song of the universe, every single one who is here has a gift of expression into the whole. One of the reasons I love doing the invisible garment, because it shows us at the time of our birth, the snapshot of the energy and the contract with creation. And I'm telling you, it's a very real thing for me anyway. Okay, so I think the the hero's journey wants to come out next because it too is a 9, and it is the heart of God. Oh, wait a minute. That's not hero's journey. That was journey of love. Heart of God. Check this out. Oh, how beautiful. You are a part of something profound, a divine. Jay, what did I just tell you? Oh my gosh. Can I stand it? No, I cannot. You are a part of something profound, a divine calling, and privilege. It is the role of inspiratrix or inspirator upon this earth, the women and men who have hearts capable of bliss. Bliss is what we feel when we let God in. The heart opens, and we cannot speak for the sensation of it. It cannot be described. Great hearts can tolerate mystery. They can bear the enormity of divine bliss beyond analysis and description and simply be. You don't have to do anything with it, you see. See, that's where we've been sold that line of BS that you have to contribute. No, you contributing by being here. You see, that's where we've got it all wrong. To be the inspiration is to have a heart open to the divine. It's a life calling. Your heart is an inspirational force to be loved, recognized, and protected for the precious catalyst of divine awakening that it is. Be led by your heart. God is in it, speaking through it, calling you forth to love. And the love that flows through your heart filters out through your toes, dripping on those beneath you as the stars falling from the heaven. This oracle holds a message for you, direct from the divine. You have a sacred purpose to fulfill upon this earth, and it's all sorted out. this situation, this issue, this awakening that you seek and are living even now is held lovingly in the hands of the divine creator. The creator says to you, leave it with me. It's all unfolding in perfection. I am alive in your heart. I am your heart. When souls are touched with love sublime and hearts unleash the wonder found, a promise made somewhere in time of words that speak without a sound. In gratitude, we transcend space and bless the gifts we now can keep of thoughts, caress, and soft embrace, and eyes allowed in joy to weep. The moment's song that we compose will leave this life with no regret and carry forth what we impose to chart again a course once set. For what we have is ours to own, each breath a step. We measure sweet. Together now, we wait alone and walk in peace, our hearts complete. Wow. Wow. I can't, we really do have it all wrong. I love what Lisa says. We are called human beings. Your being here is your contract with creation. And if you follow your joy in each moment that presents itself to you, you will find whatever purpose it is that you think you're here to fulfill. Do that. Can you imagine if everybody on the planet adopted that? What it would be like? Because there'd be nobody hating their job because they got to show up for what? Busy work to make somebody else miserable somewhere down the line? I mean, wow. Come on. Okay, so the hero's journey wants to be next. Discover your superpower. Dun, 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 dun. Access 100% of your mojo. I love this. If you ever, this is a quote by somebody named Jacob Nordby. Got no clue who that is, but if you ever meet someone brave and powerful enough to walk with you directly through your most unconscious wounds and shadow caves, someone with the stupefying courage to see through the chinks of your armor and then help you take it off, love them. And I got to be honest with you, that's exactly what has taken place for me with Lisa Flamino Rush. Because they have done something for you which is impossible to do alone. They will show you the treasure you've been seeking all your life. And they can do this because they aren't afraid of your fear. How many times, I'm telling you, man, a lot of us are uncomfortable when somebody else shows you their fear because it evokes something within you, not because of whatever it's doing over there, but because of what it makes you feel. I can speak to that for the truth of that. You are infinitely powerful, wise, strong, and blessed, yet you've only taken conscious ownership of about 5% of your natural inheritance. That's a true statement, I feel like, for all of us. Without realizing it, most of your power has been relegated to your shadow cave. Yes. As a kid, you may have been shunned, teased, ostracized, or spanked for demonstrating certain behaviors or feelings. And I already told you guys I witnessed that happening right before my very eyes, and I could tell that's what it was. Consequently, you labeled those characteristics as, quote, bad and deleted them from your playlist. But nothing is ever truly deleted. It's just disowned for a while and relegated to a cloud or cave. Eventually, these characteristics will break into dreams or enter our waking life at inopportune moments or get encapsulated in, 490 pounds of fat. And then as you're losing that fat and you don't know what's going on, you'll lay at death's door as the body tries to process all of that. Oh, yes. Don't think I don't see what that is. Wow. Because nothing is ever truly deleted. It's just disowned for a while and relegated to a cloud or cave. At its core, every shadow is beautiful and useful. In fact, within your biggest, scariest shadow is your superpower in disguise. I truly feel that with all of me. And thanks to Lisa Flamino Rush and Crystal J. Hemphill, I now have some tools on board to get to what that is without being afraid of it. When anything that has been cut off escapes from your shadow cave, it will, and that if you've never seen the animated movie Soul, oh, you've got to, because there's a really good depiction of what this is saying right there in that movie. When anything that has been cut off escapes from your shadow cave, it will lunge forth with fangs if given the chance. Instead of trying to outrun it, quicken your transformation by standing still and exploring what is worthy and noble about these aspects of yourself. Because trust and believe that that happened because of trauma that caused you to shove it down to begin with. If you can't do this on your own, invite an ally to hold your hand. Dun, 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 dun. I'm happy to do it. Just got to get in touch with me. That's all you got to do. I don't charge. There's no charge for any of that of holding someone's hand. What? No, that's not how it works for me. Anyway, that's certainly not how it worked for me. So why would it be any different for any one of you? No, it wouldn't. But I'm telling you right now, don't contact me unless you're ready, because I'm telling you, it ain't for the faint of heart. That's the true statement there. Anything, okay, wait a minute. Instead of trying to outrun it, quicken your transformation by standing still and exploring what is worthy and noble about these aspects of yourself. If you can't do this on your own, invite an ally to hold your hand as you discover the beauty and usefulness of your shadow. As you do this, you will find your shadow is no longer a shadow, but mojo that can now empower your quest. I do feel that's a true statement with all of me. So there is also a dream symbol regarding shadow. Dreams of the shadow feature monsters, frightening scenarios, or people who rub you the wrong way. Even though these dreams trigger fear or anxiety in you, they come in service to your health, healing, and wholeness. I cannot believe that Lisa and I were just talking about this again last night. Your dreams have a no shadow left behind policy and are helping you love all of you so you can have a whole souled experience. Wow, there's a mantra involved with, oh, I'm so sorry. There's a mantra involved with this card. With curiosity, I discover the treasures of my shadow and let them empower me. Oh my gosh. Boy, these readings have really been very powerful in the last couple of days for me. I don't know about y'all. We only got 2 cards left, and then I will cut you guys loose. So, the undressing of a salad. I feel like that is what is happening for many on the planet, for everybody, really. And it's just at different stages, and whether or not folks are recognizing it or not, or running from it or not. And, that's just my opinion. Your individual mileage will absolutely vary. But as far as I'm concerned, that's what is happening. So the key words for this card are balance, avoiding extremes, achieving the impossible, and being impossible. Brian called this painting the dressing of a salad. But in an earlier stage of the Good Fairies, Bad Fairies manuscript, it was the undressing of a salad. I've combined the names because they show us important aspects of the card. The dressing of a salad requires a good balance. Disparate elements must blend into a tasty whole. The undressing of a salad requires truly remarkable adroitness. At first, one might think it impossible, but Adroito, whom we see busy balancing magical balls, is the fairy of doing the impossible. He is also the fairy of being impossible and the fairy of avoiding extremes. Sound impossible? Well, of course it is. Both Adroito and Sally, crouched above him, are intently focused on balancing things, and the large gnome in the center finds this very amusing. He looks in 2 directions at once, seeing the impossibility of keeping things that are in constant motion in balance at all times, like the juggling act of life. Of course, we fall out of balance. Of course, we occasionally drop the ball. Sometimes we drop the ball or a bird flies by and snatches it from us, and we just have to invent another one. Sometimes this seems impossible as undressing a salad. Things are in motion, and the outcome is impossible to predict. A cool head is required to deal with this, as is a readiness to jump in whatever direction seems appropriate. Exercise cool judgment while staying ready for the unpredictable. Sudden changes of fortune may appear good or bad, but they are in flux and can be rechanneled if necessary. Well, and I'll say it again for myself. I know I've labeled things one way, only much later to say, oh, wait a minute. No, the label I assigned to that was not correct. It wasn't a catastrophe. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. So knowing that now, when things like that happen, I hang off, I wait. So you can come out a winner here. It's wait a minute, sorry. Sudden changes of fortune, yeah. Develop poise, stay calm. You can come out a winner here, but it is likely to take concentrated effort. Use power with delicacy and discretion. Well, because like I said, I feel like there's a lot of change in the offing, not just for me, for a lot of beings as we move through, you know, what's happening now. Okay, so the very last card comes to us from the Alchemy Elementals deck, and it is mental, the mental pillar. So let's see what the mental pillar has to say. And this one is a 5 numerologically. The mental pillar, when the mental pillar appears in a spread, the spirits are pointing your attention toward your mind and how it's working or not working for you. This pillar is about the thoughts you think, the words you speak, and the ideas you imagine. It's about communication and manifestation and self-talk. Well, I have to be honest, I've been guided a lot about my own self-talk and how even the thoughts we think radiate at a particular vibratory rate. And thoughts become things is a very real thing, because thoughts are the precursor to speech. And so the speech that I speak to myself about myself manifests itself in the body, in the physical body, in ways that have not served me so well in the past. And so I'm really fortunate that I have been really tuning into my larger self, because I've been asked to, oh, really? Are you sure about that? You want to go with that? You really sure? So check in with yourself. What are you feeding your mind? Are you thinking for yourself, or are you thinking against yourself? Are you wording yourself up, or are you tearing yourself down? Mental pillar is about reading, writing, and manifesting. It's also about innovating, learning new skills, and imagining a better world. This pillar is as much about what you are taking into your mind as it is about what your mind is putting out into the world. Are you thinking beautiful thoughts and telling yourself wonderful things and speaking kindness and encouragement to your tribe and into the world? What are the cards telling you about the quality of your mind? What shifts are the spirits wanting you to make so that you can upgrade your mental faculties? Well, you know, that's really very true. And I have been having some experiences in regards to that of late for myself. So I really, wow, today's reading has been another one of those just wow readings for me. I hope there was something here for you. Generally, that's the way it works. As far as I'm concerned, you wouldn't have been drawn here. You wouldn't have felt to come and partake in this if there weren't something here for you. And I feel that way about working with folks. When someone contacts me and we meet in Zoom, generally and which is another reason why I don't, there's no dollar amounts attached to anything. If someone wants to uh, gift me something, that's one thing, but there is no, and not, there's no expectations of anything either, because there's generally something in the interaction for me as well. And so to me, that's enough. So if you do feel to reach out, you feel to have a conversation with me, just know I don't sugarcoat nothing neither. So there's that too. So I hope you found this reading helpful for you. do know that if you are in the Eastern time zone tomorrow, apparently that solar eclipse is supposed to actually look like a second sunrise in some sort of way. I saw that this morning. I was sharing it with Lisa, and here in the Eastern time zone where we are, it's going to happen very early in the morning. It begins at 6:40 something, 6:50 something in the morning, and or was that 4:50 something? And the maximum of the partial will be around between 8 and 9. And so I don't know. I'm going to try to see if I can see it. Um, but I also feel like there's a lot of energy attached to these this time around, especially for me. If you haven't taken a look at I know that it's 58 minutes and some change. The writing from Astro Butterfly that I recorded, I highly recommend that because it's all about a new cycle that is beginning with Neptune. And it made a lot of sense to me, and I understood why I was to record that. Highly recommend that you take a listen to that in your travels. If you are drawn to that, please do listen. If you want to subscribe and take part of some of the other things that are going to be coming up, like the live intuitive hangout session that I do want to do, and I am going to do that on this channel next. Not next, right after this, but the next time I do it, I'm going to do it here on Sassy Seer Sheila, because I've done almost all of them exclusively on New Light Streaming Love of late. So look out for that to happen either tonight or tomorrow night. Again, depending on the energy, I'm making no promises. So I hope that you will continue to move towards that which brings you joy in each moment that presents itself to you. It really is just a matter of perspective. And if you're not feeling very joyous in the moment, take a minute, take a breath, step to one side, see if you can look at something from a different vantage point, because there is always, in my opinion, more than one way to see something and go about something. Perhaps you'll find that more joyous way. Till we meet again, my friends, be well.